Please excuse the sound fluctuation. I experienced some internet connection problems, but I did not want to deprive you from this interview, which is packed with very powerful and practical information.
Good morning to this episode of Date Like a French Woman, the podcast to teach you how to practice holistic dating. And lately, I added how to activate the law of repulsion regarding Mr. Wrong, because we don't want them in our lives. Today, I have a special guest. She's a local in Las Vegas, and I'm very excited to interview her because we tried to have this interview for so long. It's finally happening. Her name is Courtney Bentley. And Courtney's talks, workshops, and interactive trainings have inspired women's organizations, conference attendees, yoga and fitness studios, and private clientele and business audiences to be bold and take action to live their best life. A recovered self-hater, Courtney ultimately learned to love herself through movement. Her platform and podcast, Fit, Fierce, and Fabulous, have inspired thousands of women to practice self-love while reaching for and achieving big goals. And she's a recurring contributor to CBS Channel 8 Las Vegas now, and has appeared on Leading Las Vegas and many other platforms. And I will save the rest for her to tell you herself. Welcome, Courtney. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm very excited too, because I'm sure you have a lot to contribute to our audience. And to me personally, I'm very curious about your story. And
thank you.
I see self-love is big for you too. I would love if you could start with your journey. How did you end up where you are today? I know you had big challenges, and I would love to hear about it.
Sure. So I'm a recovered self-hater who discovered self-love through movement, nourishment, and mindset training. I am someone who was a ballerina my entire life, and through a lot of loss and lack in my life, I developed an eating disorder. And I developed the eating disorder. I was bulimic, I was anorexic, diet pills, whatever it was you named it. And I had this subconscious belief that the thinner I got, the more accepted I would be in the world. And this behavior and this mindset sabotaged my entire life. It sabotaged my relationships. It sabotaged my goals. It sabotaged me in school. It sabotaged my work life. It just really sabotaged who I was when I thought that if I got skinnier, it would fix all those problems. So it took me a lot to get through that. It was a lot of self-love and healing that I did. One thing that really changed my life was fitness. The man I'm married to now, my husband, Norman, he took me to the gym, and he completely transformed my life by teaching me how to lift weights.
Wow.
Lifting weights empowered me so much. It taught me what my body could do. And it gave me goals that were like, how many push-ups could I do? How fast could I run? How much weight could I squat? These types of goals kept me in a tune and a vibration of empowering my body versus harming my body. The second piece was nourishment. To keep up with all that training I was doing, I had to nourish my body. So I had to learn about proper nutrition and not diet nutrition.
Yes.
Right? Because that's what the media is always telling us. Eat less, move more.
Yes.
This was how much food and the right types of foods that make my body fuel for the gym and for the workouts that I was doing. So that was a big piece. And then because I'm in the fitness industry, I still kind of had a little bit of disordered eating, because in the fitness industry, it's all about the abs. It's all about being bikini body ready all year long.
Yes.
So I really had to work on the mindset piece as well. So I got and recovered over my bulimia through fitness and nutrition. and understanding what my body needed and loving it. And the mindset piece I had to learn with meditation, with a lot of self-love, a lot of giving myself permission to do more yoga and meditation and not being so hard on myself for missing my workouts and all
Yes.
that type of behavior that ends up happening if you do get deep in that fitness industry. So the mindset piece is the most recent, and those three altogether have really helped me get to where I am today. And now I'm able to share my story and help others that were in a similar position or in a similar position right now. So I'm very
It's
grateful that I launched my podcast, I have my blog and all that stuff to help people.
it's really amazing because in your case, you were bullying yourself through the fitness industry. But for our audience, many women bully themselves in various ways. And your story really illustrates that you don't feel lovable until you reach a certain point that is never reached, in fact, because it's all about the internal job. Did
Yes.
you know
Yes.
when you started exercising and moving, did you know that it was already self-love in action, or you discovered that later when you started to be more into the spiritual side of stuff, the mindfulness and all that?
Oh, I knew right away. The minute I started lifting weights, I felt this power. And as women, we often feel less,
Yes,
less than, we feel like we shouldn't speak up. We feel like we shouldn't stand up for what we want or ask for that raise or, these types of things. But lifting weights gave me a sense of I am a powerful human being. I am a female, but I'm strong. I'm mighty. And I can lift my own boxes. I can do all these things. And having that sense really gave me the sensation of power, which is what I needed to fill that lack. I needed to feel powerful and confident, which is what fitness gave me, was power and confidence.
that's great. That's terrific. Now you're helping women do the same. So do you mostly attract women who have weight problems or all kinds of problems all over the rainbow?
All kinds of problems. I mean, I wouldn't call them problems. I would just say that it's just where they're at.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I feel like we focus on a problem, and it's just because that's where we're at the time. And
Mhm.
all you need is tools or a coach or a book or something that inspires you to take a different direction and look internally. So a lot of times I feel like we're bombarded with self-help, self-help, self-help. When really it's like you need to take these tools that you've somehow attracted into your life, whether it's a
Yeah.
coach, a mentor, a book, a podcast, and you need to internalize them and say, okay, does this feel right to me? Is this something that I can act upon? And slowly take the steps needed and guided so that you can take those steps and make those momentums and make those shifts and those changes versus trying to do whatever the self-help book says and doing a to-do list and trying to get it all done. You really have to internalize all this information and take it step by step.
That's true. And you said two things that are really important. First, to work with what resonates with you, because there is so much out there and so many coaches, and not everybody resonates with everybody. And that's crucial. And the second thing you said is practice, because I meet so many people, women, who buy those books and they have, I don't know how many self-help books in their house, but knowing it here never changes anything. It has to sink in the body, and you really have to take action and practice. That's where the change starts, like is initiated. For you, how long, because now you're probably like everybody else, you love yourself. There are days that you love yourself more, days that you love yourself less.
Mhm.
When did you start feeling a real deep change? At what point?
Um, so I use a lot of tools to align myself in my energy. And once I was able to align myself in my energy, I create a vibration around my body. That includes exercise, nutrition, staying away from things that are negative in my mind, like certain types of music or certain types of TV shows, and just kind of crowding those things out of my life, just like you would in a diet. Crowd out
Yes.
foods that don't make you feel good and fill your body with foods that do make you feel good. it's not that I am perfect and all
Yeah,
kinds of stuff.
nobody
It's
is.
just I really work on getting myself in alignment and keeping a positive energy around me, and really feeling good every single day has been key to my overall success with self-love, whether that's having a dance party in my room by myself, or jumping on my trampoline, or just putting on a good song that just creates a good vibration in my body. When I'm able to do those things, it instantly takes me from, maybe I'm feeling really bloated today, and I'm looking at myself, I'm like, gosh, I look a little bloated. I can turn on a song and instantly change it around and say, you know what? So what? I'm bloated today. Who cares? I'll
Yeah.
just drink some more water. It's that instant shift type practice that I have that has really made the biggest change and difference in my life.
It's really important. Whatever we are focusing on in the moment will have an effect on our body. And like you said, it's funny how it works both ways, though. If you think, then you're going to feel in your body. But if you start moving your body, then you're going to think differently. It works like a circle. It's beautiful that way. Uh, when so, do you still do like weightlifting now, or do you do like
Mm-hmm.
yoga and other stuff as well?
Yeah, so I weightlift pretty much like 5 days a week, I would say consistently, sometimes six. The workouts vary as far as like some days I'll lift really, really heavy. Some days I'll do like a high intensity interval training. But I've come to a point in my training where I just intuitively listen to my body and I
Oh,
ask myself, what do I need today? I need to feel really powerful because I'm launching a new program, or I'm, get really strong for when I have to show up. So I'll go lift really, really heavy. If I feel like I have tons and tons of energy that I need to like put somewhere, I'll do a high intensity interval training to get myself all that energy out in a good way. I really just tune into what my body needs. Sometimes it's the Kundalini yoga class. Sometimes it's a yin yoga class. Sometimes it's absolutely nothing. Sometimes it's walking my dogs. I just try to be active as much as I can. And whatever that looks like depends on how I feel that day. And I'm always constantly asking myself, what do I need today? How do I need to show up for myself today?
that's beautiful. I know that in my coaching, I focus a lot on relationships and the relationship with yourself. So where I tell women to start with examining what relationships they have in their life that bring their energy down. That's where I have them start to kind of assess. When you work with someone, do you have them start by focusing on how they feel too and energy, or more the body part? Where if somebody was coming to you today and wanted to feel better, let's say in her best, to go dating, to feel body imagely, I don't know if I did Franglish, but on a body image level,
Sure. No, it's okay.
more confident,
Yeah,
where?
if they want to feel more confident in their body, I guess is what you're trying to say.
Yes.
So what I do is it depends on the client. So I'm pretty intuitive. So I kind of tune into the client and where they're at, and I meet them where they're at. So some clients, if I brought in this like self-love practice right away, it might be a little much for them. A lot of
Yes.
my clients come to me with no knowledge of self-help. Kind of, maybe they've read a book, but they're not someone who's like deeply enriched in this stuff. So I
Okay.
really take them and I just bring them into the gym and I teach them to empower their bodies. And then as we get to know one another, I'll say things like, wow, you look so strong today. You look so vibrant today. Instead of, you look thinner, or you look like you've lost weight. I
Wow.
feed them the words that empower them. Instead of
Yes.
saying, oh, you've lost 5 pounds, I say, you are just vibrating today, or you have so much energy. I love it. These types of phrases come into their mindset and they're like, wow, like I want to feel energetic and vibrant and beautiful and strong. Like, so what if I'm a little bloated today? Doesn't mean I'm any less beautiful than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
It just means that whatever, as long as you are true to you and you're in tune with you, that vibrates. And so I always start with, let's just get them in the gym, let's get them moving. And when you start exercising, you notice a different type of energy. Like you
Yeah.
feel so much more in tune with your body, or connected to your body, and you feel a certain way after you exercise. I mean, even if it's a yoga class where you've just stretched for an hour in yin
Mm-hmm.
yoga, you still feel a certain way. And I try to amplify that by giving them, positive phrases that associate with that. And that's really, really helpful for them. And then, yes, then it progresses, and then they start coming to my full moon workshops, my new moon workshops, and that progresses. But I don't throw them in, because it
Yeah,
could be a
no,
little like, oh, that's a
traumatic.
little too much.
Yeah, you sneak affirmations on them through the back door and then gradually bring them there. Uh, do you do they actually realize when that you use certain words instead of others? Do you teach them that, or you just do it and it just sinks in?
I depends where they're at. Again, like some clients, they get it. They're like, I need these positive affirmations. I need these positive tips, these self-love practices. And some clients are like kind of confused. So it just depends.
That's funny. That's funny because I know that your brain, like you were talking about the brain and beliefs, if you use the words that they're resistant to, it's not going to penetrate. It's going to be rejected right away. So that's really great that you have this awareness. On your spiritual quest, where did you start? I'm just curious, which master did you start with?
I'm sorry, what?
If you're talking, you were saying that you went into meditation and more mindfulness.
Oh,
What was your first contact with it? Was it through a teacher?
uh,
Or what was the first step?
so when I was really little, I used to meditate and I didn't even know.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I didn't know what it was. I would just like sit in silence, like listen to my breath, or like I'd go outside and like watch the grass or the trees. And then when I was in college, I took a class called Mind and Body. And I took the class because basically because it was an easy credit. And one of my friends was taking it. So I took it and I really learned about Reiki and EFT and meditation, and it was a lot to learn in one semester. So what I did was I got really into Carolyn Miss. Do you know who
oh
she
yeah,
is?
yeah,
She
yeah.
works on the
I know
chakras.
archetypes.
She was like really big with Hay House, like back in the
Yes,
day.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so I got her DVD. I ordered her DVD and I started, because when I was really little I could see colors around people.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I didn't know, obviously I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started watching her DVDs and I was like, oh my gosh, like this so resonates with me. Like, why did I let
Mhm.
all of this go in my life? Like, why did I not get in tune with
Correct.
it? So then I started slowly kind of working on it for myself. It wasn't for, to do this or
Yeah.
even think that I would be using these tools that I've learned. It was more of just like, how can I use these tools to better my life? How can I use, healing with my hands and my crystals to make myself feel better? And I just started to really see the shift in my life. And I'm so grateful for that class. I forget the teacher's name. I should look it up, but I'm so grateful because she really put me back in alignment
On track.
with gifts and what I'm supposed to do on this earth. And if I hadn't taken that class, I mean, it could have taken me several more years to even find something or a teacher or be attracted to a book or a person or something. So I'm really grateful for that class for that reason.
But things happen. I don't believe in randomness. And I think that when you're ready, that's when you see it. That's when it's presented to you because you're ready. Otherwise, you could have passed by and didn't even pay attention to that. So somehow you were ready. Uh, how long have you been
It's true.
doing training with people, like taking clients?
Years.
Years.
Over 10 years.
Oh, good.
So I
Oh.
started like traditional personal training, like,
Uh-huh.
taking someone to the gym. It's developed since the first time I ever did that. Great, like huge. I use nutrition. I use intuitive, like I can, usually like tune into someone and feel where they're lacking in their chakra, and teach them the foods that they need to eat to fill that lack. I use the moon to help people let go of limiting beliefs that are stopping them from living their full potential.
Yes,
And there's just so many tools that I use now, but I did not do all of that for 10
at the
years,
beginning.
just simply the training part for about 10 years.
It's more recent. So you mentioned that you knew instinctively what food would heal based on what chakra needed the nourishment. I just saw a documentary where the person was a healer and he was talking about the fact that you need to pick the food with the color that corresponds to the chakra. Is it something you apply to, or do you just get a download of whatever that person needs to eat and it has nothing to do with the color?
So I don't do it by color. So there's certain foods that ground you. Most of the time, many of my clients come to me and they just need to get grounded.
Okay.
So I usually just start with very warm, nourishing foods, really heavy like squashes and sweet potatoes, even potatoes sometimes, really warm bone broths, very nourishing, grounding foods, healthier fats like avocados and nuts, and just bringing those types of foods into their diet usually helps them ground, and that usually will help everything else. So it's typically with my clients especially, it's a grounding thing that they need because they're just all over the place,
Yeah,
especially in this society. Everyone's kind of all over the place doing a million things. So just by simply helping them ground with their bodies and using these types of foods like bone broth and pink Himalayan sea salt, and crowding out the sugars,
of course.
which have them all over the place, and crowding out the caffeine, which has them all over the place. It's pretty simple. That's usually where I'll start. When it comes to like a lot of people need like the heart chakra, they really need to kind of get in tune with that. And that's usually just more vegetables. And I ask them to drink more green juices, and not green juices, but like smoothies. If they drink a juice, I make them add chia seeds in it, because if you just drink the juice, it can really elevate that. It's not very grounding. So if you add the chia seeds, it's really, really grounding for them. And just trying to get them to eat more like simple vegetables, more leafy greens and things like that. And that's really helpful for that chakra. So those are two that I generally work with. I don't work with like a crown chakra usually.
Yeah.
That's not my specialty. But just really grounding people through nutrition is really key, and just getting them to connect with their heart. Their heart center is also very key.
It makes sense, because if you work with the body, working in your body is also grounding. I know I'm all over the place too, because I work with energy, and sometimes it's like I'm evaporating up there. So I need to bring myself back down. That's great to know that foods like the ones you mentioned have the ability to ground us, because that's where we can
Yes.
start. We can start.
Yes, especially those rooty vegetables like your potatoes. Like there's nothing wrong with having some sweet potato, it's
Yes.
actually very grounding. And if you put it in like a very warm stew with like, some bone broth and some sweet potato, and if you eat meat, some chicken, if you don't, some lentils and veggies, that stew is so nourishing for your body, and it's really going to help ground you and calm you down. And then putting some pink Himalayan sea salt in there, and you're a grounding machine.
That's great. That's terrific, because that's something that a lot of people need. And like you said, in our society, our mind is everywhere. So one of my favorite questions, self-love, what is your specific definition of self-love? Because people know they're supposed to love themselves, but they don't know where to start or even what it means to them. What is your own definition of self-love?
So my self-love journey has kind of transitioned and moved and changed, and I give myself permission for it, and I honor it, and that's fine. But one big thing that I've really done to honor myself, and that's what I believe self-love is honoring yourself.
Yes.
And giving yourself permission to do what you need to do. Like I mentioned before with, how I can intuitively listen to my body and say, today I need yoga. And even though I ate a big holiday dinner last night and I feel like I should be exercising, my body says no. and I'm going to give myself permission to just do a yoga class and relax. And just because everyone else is doing juice cleanses and
Yeah.
losing all this weight and feeling all great, I know my body needs grounding foods because I'm all over the place. I need to ground. So I give myself permission and I honor that my body needs to ground, and that's fine. So my biggest definition of self-love is honoring your body and giving yourself permission to do what you want to do and to tune into that as much as you can, whether that's in the morning before you open your eyes or at night before you go to sleep or in the car before you drive off to your next meeting, but just really tuning in and asking yourself, what do I need? I think that is my definition of self-love at this moment.
And that's
I'm
crucial.
sure it'll change in 2 years.
Yeah, no, but you know, with that, it's like your own inner guidance, your own inner wisdom. So you can't go wrong with that. Uh,
Yeah.
so you answered actually my second question, because my second question was about how to practice it in your life. So your answer
Yes.
was including that too. For the audience of women that listen to me, which are the single women who, you know, they're looking to find healthy love, if there was one or two tips that you would like to give them based on your coaching and your practice, what would you tell them first?
So the first thing that I always tell people to do is find your flow. Finding your flow is finding an exercise that lights you up, whether that's Zumba dancing or yoga or lifting or boot camp. It's finding your flow that makes you feel good. Because when you vibrate with that energy, that is a big part of self-love is moving your body and nourishing your body. And our bodies are meant to move. And if you're staying stagnant all the time, you're not moving and you're not getting that vibration and that momentum in your life for other things to move, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So that's the first thing I would tell people to do is find your flow and don't let a celebrity tell you that this is the hot new exercise or
Yeah.
your friend tell you, like, find what makes you want to show up for yourself and something that makes sense for you. The second thing I would tell you is to look at the foods and the environment that you're in and see if you can make little shifts and little changes. Because when you nourish your body with foods that make you feel good, that vibration comes out in the world, right? When you're
Yes.
excited and happy about yourself and you're confident, all of that is going to attract better relationships with your friends, better relationships with work, better relationships with men or women, and better relationships with yourself. So I think that those are two major things that you can do starting tomorrow. You know, I'm not telling you to buy a diet plan and
Yeah.
follow it to a T, but look and see, am I eating enough vegetables? Am I drinking enough water? You know, asking yourself these questions that aren't like, you know, going on some crazy low carb diet or whatever. It's just simple little changes that you can make that will make the biggest difference for you and will make you feel good. So I think those are the two big things I would suggest.
And that's great. That's a terrific start. And it brings fulfillment too, which is
Yes.
extremely important. I want to thank you for being part of this interview today. I definitely will remember the grounding food. I never think about that. And that's really like a gem for me. And I'm sure for many other women who run from morning to evening without even thinking. And if people want to know more about you, or I will put it in the description as well, because you have a podcast, but where could they go and find out information about you, maybe get in contact with you? Where would they go?
Sure. So my website is CourtneyVioletBentley.com. It's just my name. Although that website has hundreds, probably like 500 blog posts. I've had it since 2012, so you could get really crazy in there. My podcast is Fit, Fierce, and Fabulous, and it's in iTunes and Stitcher, so you can just search that. And then I also am on Instagram at Courtney Bentley _, and I also have a beautiful Facebook group that I connect with everyone daily. It's just called Fit Fierce Fabulous Podcast. It's a secret private Facebook group. And if you'd like to join a community, please feel free to join. I'd love to have you.
Terrific.
And that's it. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's terrific. Well, I again thank you for the interview, and I may run into you one of these days physically here in Vegas. It didn't happen yet.
I hope so.
I hope so too, to go to one of your moon ceremonies. I love moon ceremonies. So have a wonderful evening.
Oh, I would love to have you. Please come.
I will as soon as I can. And thank you for the interview, and have a wonderful day.
You too.
And for our audience, I'll see you in the next episode. I'll put the link for Courtney in the description of the video, so you can go and check her out.
Thank you so much.
If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel. And for questions, information, or to book a free 30-minute introductory coaching session, please visit datelikeafrenchwoman.com.